What is up, everybody? My name is Merlin Joshi, and today I would like to start a new series called Will It DNB? So the premise of the idea is pretty much, can I take a song that wasn't originally DNB and make it DNB? So recently, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 came out, and zombies being my favorite game mode of Call of Duty, I decided to do a Call of Duty Zombies classic song. The one, the only 115. Don't want to get copyright stricken, but I probably will. But who cares? So I wanted to start with the drums, because the drums of DNB are pretty predictable. You can pretty much guess what it's going to sound like, depending on who you're listening to. This is how I set up the drums. Added some hi-hats. I added a smaller snare than the original snare to add like a little bit of a bounce to it. And then I added some acoustic drums just to give it a bit more of that 115 feel, because you know in metal they have them cranking drums, you know. After that, I went and made the halftime section. Which is pretty much classic halftime. I mean, the hi-hats are halftime, the kick and the snare are halftime, the crashes are going. The next thing I moved on to was a bit of a pluck, or an arp, I guess you could call it, and this is how it sounds in the beginning. So I've got a very plucky shape going on in the envelope, and the envelope is also controlling this low pass. The low pass is only affecting oscillator A, and oscillator B is going through. Both have pretty high levels of unison, 9 on A, 7 on B. And in the effects section, I have a filter, which is giving it a bit of a metallic tinge. Here it is without. And it is also helping with the high end. And then I have a hyperdimension, which is giving it a bit of widening. And then I have Serum's multiband compression, giving it a little work, evening out the spectrum. And I have a delay, which is helping with that metallic tinge. And then I have a chorus, which is widening up the sound even more, giving it a little bit of detune. And then in the effects section, I just have a parametric EQ2, giving it a little work. And this delay comes on throughout the song, like so. The next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make a bass. And you know, in metal, the guitars are everything. Guitars, distortion, thickness. That's pretty much it. In drum and bass, basses are what drive it. Basses are pretty much drum and bass's guitar. So this is the bass that I came up with. So the first thing I started with was a sub, obviously. So the sub is going through a bit of distortion, and here it is without it. The distortion is just there to give it a bit more higher harmonics. For the bass, we have oscillator A and B, oscillator A being -1 octaves, and oscillator B being -2 octaves. Oscillator A has 8 voices of unison at a standard unison detune rate, and oscillator B has 1 voice of unison with no detune going on because it's 1 voice, yay. I have this envelope controlling the volume of oscillator A. Oscillator A and B are both going into this filter, which is a high notch 12. The notch is being automated down the frequency spectrum by this guy, and the cutoff is being modulated up by this LFO. LFO2 is pushing all 3 parameters, cutoff, resonance, and frequency up and down as the bass progresses throughout the song. Now let's jump over to the effects. The effects are kind of bare on this one. The only thing I did was crunch the heck out of it. Bunch of distortion on this guy. Bit of multiband compression from Serum's compressor. And a bit of widening from the dimension expander. Next thing I did was I put a little EQ on it. This is a low pass that comes down during the middle of the song. This is a wave shaper, which is crunching it up a little bit more. And then I have a bit more EQ after the wave shaper, just boosting the mids and the lows a little bit. And then I have some stereo shaping going on in this Maximus, and a little bit of expansion in the mids, I should say. The next thing I wanted was a higher bass layer for the halftime section. So this is what that sounds like. The higher bass is the same practically, except for 1 or 2 changes. Oscillator B is now a square wave. Oscillator A is 2 octaves up, and oscillator B is -1 octaves down, still being automated the same way. The effect chain is about the same, except for an EQ at the end, which is doing a little high passing. As you can see, this is automating the frequency. So next I added some effects. The effects are pretty much just sweeps, crashes, and a riser pretty much. On to my favorite part of this production, the vocals.
No one can see me and I've lost all feeling, and I know I won't die alone.
I'll stop you from breathing and know you're deceiving, and this house is not my home.
So for the singing part, I have a pitcher, which is tuning me up because I don't know how to sing very well. I have a micro shift, which is giving it a little chorusing effect. I have a maximus, which is doing just a bit of compression on the overall signal. And then I have a parametric EQ2, which is giving my voice a little bit of EQ to shapen it up. And then I just have a big hall reverb. I'm actually really happy with how the Screamo vocals came out, even though I've never really done Screamo. So what I did is I took 3 takes of it, and I panned 2 of them to either side of the stereo field, and I kept 1 in the middle.
I'll stop you from breathing and know you're deceiving.
So I also have a Vocodex going on. Now here's what the Vocodex signal sounds like by itself. So I've got both the Vocodex signal and the singing signal going into the Vocodex channel with OTT, which is doing a bit of work. And then I've got a parametric EQ2, which is evening out a little bit of the frequencies. So most everything is being sent to the sidechain channel, except for the vocals, and some of the effects aren't being sent to the sidechaining. So besides that, I have the kick and the snare sidechaining in 2 different limiters, and that sounds like this. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy what you're about to hear. And I hope you guys send me some more suggestions in the comments below for what I should DNB-Ify next. And as always, thank you for watching. See you guys next time.